Welcome to Moments in History channel. Have you ever heard the phrase, "I shall return"? It's a line so iconic it feels like it belongs in a Hollywood blockbuster. But this wasn't a movie script. It was a solemn promise made by one of the most brilliant, controversial, and unforgettable military leaders of the 20th century, General Douglas MacArthur. His story is a saga of duty, honor, and country, a life lived on the grand stage of history, from the trenches of World War I to the atomic age. So, who was the man behind the corncob pipe and aviator sunglasses? Let's dive into the epic life of a true American legend. Douglas MacArthur was born into the Army. His father, Arthur MacArthur Jr., was a Medal of Honor recipient, and from his birth in 1880 at an Army barracks in Little Rock, Arkansas, a military destiny seemed preordained. Young Douglas didn't just follow in his father's footsteps. He sought to create a path of his own. He aimed for the pinnacle of military education, the United States Military Academy at West Point. But getting in wasn't easy. He had to overcome a physical ailment and intense competition, studying relentlessly to secure his appointment. When he finally arrived on the hallowed grounds of West Point in 1899, he was determined to excel. And excel he did. He wasn't just a good cadet, he was a phenomenal one, graduating first in his class of 93 cadets in 1903. His academic and military record was so superb that only 2 other cadets in the Academy's history had ever surpassed it. This wasn't just about grades. It was an early sign of the relentless drive and towering ambition that would define his entire life. After graduating, MacArthur's early career was a whirlwind tour of duty that showcased his versatility and courage. He served as an engineer in the Philippines, an aide-de-camp to President Theodore Roosevelt, and participated in the Veracruz expedition in Mexico in 1914. But it was the crucible of World War I that forged his reputation as a fearless battlefield commander. Deployed to France with the 42nd Rainbow Division, a unit he helped organize, MacArthur led from the front, earning a staggering number of decorations, including 7 Silver Stars, 2 Distinguished Service Crosses, and 2 Purple Hearts. He was gassed and wounded, yet he consistently refused to wear a gas mask or even a helmet, a habit that became part of his mystique. He believed a leader's place was at the point of greatest danger, sharing the risks of his men. By the war's end, he was the most decorated American officer of the conflict. His name synonymous with bravery and inspirational leadership. In the interwar years, MacArthur's star continued to rise. At just 40 years old, he became the superintendent of West Point, the youngest in a century. He wasn't there to maintain the status quo. He introduced sweeping reforms, modernizing the curriculum to prepare future officers for the complexities of 20th century warfare. He updated academic subjects, revamped the athletic programs, and instilled a stricter honor code. Later, as the Army Chief of Staff during the Great Depression, he faced the immense challenge of maintaining a capable military amidst severe budget cuts. It was during this period that he led the controversial clearing of the Bonus Army encampment in Washington, D.C., a difficult chapter that pitted him against fellow veterans. Yet, through it all, he remained a powerful advocate for military preparedness, warning of gathering storms on the global horizon. When those storms broke with the start of World War II, MacArthur was where he was destined to be, on the front lines. As commander of U.S. Army forces in the Far East, he was based in the Philippines. In December 1941, just hours after the attack on Pearl Harbor, Japanese forces invaded. Outnumbered and outgunned, MacArthur's American and Filipino troops fought a valiant but doomed defense. As the situation grew desperate, President Franklin D. Roosevelt ordered MacArthur to evacuate to Australia to organize the Allied counteroffensive. Leaving his men behind was one of the hardest decisions of his life. Upon arriving in Australia, he stepped before the press and delivered those 3 immortal words, "I shall return." This wasn't just a promise, it was a rallying cry for the entire Allied war effort in the Pacific, a symbol of unbreakable resolve. For the next 2.5 years, MacArthur masterfully executed his island-hopping strategy. Instead of engaging in bloody frontal assaults on every fortified Japanese island, his forces would bypass and isolate major enemy strongholds, seizing strategically important but less defended islands to use as bases for the next leap forward. This brilliant and audacious strategy saved countless lives and accelerated the Allied advance across the vast Pacific. And then, on October 20th, 1944, the moment of destiny arrived. General MacArthur waded ashore at Leyte in the Philippines, fulfilling his sacred vow. The images of him striding through the surf became instantly iconic. The liberation of the Philippines was a long and brutal campaign, but MacArthur had kept his promise to its people. Finally, on September 2nd, 1945, aboard the battleship USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay, Supreme Commander for the Allied powers Douglas MacArthur accepted the formal surrender of Japan, bringing an end to World War II. With the war over, MacArthur faced perhaps his greatest and most unexpected challenge, the reconstruction of a shattered and defeated Japan. As the Supreme Commander of the Allied occupation, he effectively became the nation's interim ruler. Many expected a harsh, vengeful occupation. Instead, MacArthur orchestrated one of the most remarkable transformations in modern history. He oversaw the drafting of a new democratic constitution, which renounced war and granted universal suffrage, including the right for women to vote for the first time. He broke up the powerful industrial monopolies, redistributed land to tenant farmers, and reformed the education system. He treated the Japanese people and their emperor with dignity, fostering goodwill instead of resentment. In just a few short years, MacArthur laid the foundation for the peaceful, prosperous, and democratic Japan that we know today. It was a monumental achievement of statesmanship, arguably the crowning glory of his career. But the peace was short-lived. In June 1950, Communist North Korea invaded South Korea, and the world was once again on the brink. President Harry S. Truman appointed MacArthur as the commander of the United Nations forces tasked with defending the South. With UN forces pinned down in a small perimeter around the port of Pusan, MacArthur conceived one of the most daring military operations in history, the amphibious landing at Incheon. Military planners considered it impossibly risky due to treacherous tides and heavily defended shores. But MacArthur's gamble paid off spectacularly. The landing was a stunning success, cutting off North Korean supply lines and forcing their retreat. It was a stroke of strategic genius that reversed the course of the war. However, as UN forces pushed north toward the Chinese border, MacArthur's confidence grew into overreach. He clashed publicly with President Truman over war strategy, advocating for an expansion of the conflict into China. This insubordination was a direct challenge to the principle of civilian control over the military. In a move that shocked the world, Truman relieved MacArthur of command in April 1951. MacArthur returned to the United States not in disgrace, but to a hero's welcome. Ticker-tape parades drew millions of cheering supporters. He delivered a farewell address to a joint session of Congress, a moving and eloquent speech that concluded with a line from an old barracks ballad: "Old soldiers never die, they just fade away." Douglas MacArthur's legacy is as complex and commanding as the man himself. He was a visionary strategist, a leader of immense courage, and a statesman who rebuilt a nation. He was also seen by critics as arrogant, insubordinate, and theatrical. Was he a hero or a demigod with a fatal flaw of pride? Perhaps he was both. What is undeniable is his profound impact on the 20th century. He remains an enduring symbol of duty, honor, and country. A soldier who never faded away, but instead carved his name permanently into the annals of history. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the life of General of the Army and Philippine Marshal Douglas MacArthur. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe to Moments in History channel for more deep dives into the lives of history's most impactful figures. Let me know in the comments what you think about MacArthur's legacy. We'll see you in the next video.